Good evening and welcome to another edition of Nevada County Interviews, and I'm your host, Paul Minicucci. And I looked at the calendar today and realized it was December 1st, and so we have reached into our little bag of magic tricks for Christmas, and we're starting the show off in this Christmas season off in Fine Fettle, and frankly, we're having so much fun on the set. I hope we can continue right through the show. I have, as you might suspect, we have theater people in the house tonight. And so with me, I have Alice LeGacy, and I have Gary Wright, and Carolyn
Howarth.
Howarth?
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I should know because we both went to UC Davis. And
Go Aggies.
Go Aggies. So, and we're going to be talking about LeGacy Productions, which has two really outstanding selections this Christmas season. The Santaland Diaries, which we'll talk about first, and then later in the show we're going to talk about A Christmas Story. Mm-hmm. So, Alice, let's talk a little bit about LeGacy, though, because for some people, they may not know what your history is. When did you start producing shows up here?
You know, it's interesting. LeGacy actually started in 1996, I think, with when we started doing one-man shows of Mark Twain. My father plays Mark Twain, and that's where we started. And then in 1997, we did our premiere production of A Few Good Men, and have been producing shows continuously since then.
Right. And you've had, how many shows have you done this year?
This year?
Yes.
This year we've only, this is our, well, we have two current shows right now, and I think this is our, counting all those, we've had 5 shows this year.
Right. Well, it's a pretty healthy menu for a, quote, community theater.
Yeah.
So, just, you know, of course, as with most people, we just love your stuff, so thanks for coming aboard. Tell us a little bit about, you chose Santaland Diaries this year. How come?
That's a long story, but we worked with Gary Wright, and well, we haven't worked with Carolyn yet, who will be introduced to you in a minute, but we worked with Gary last year. He did a one-man show for us called This Wonderful Life, which is a one-man show that had 39 characters, I think, 37 characters, something like that.
I'm not a numbers guy.
Gary can't keep track either. But we had Gary come do a one-man show for us last year of based on A Wonderful Life with all these characters. And we decided this year that we were going to bring him back and do another one-man show. Mm-hmm. And we're really thrilled to have him on our stage again.
Really? It's great to see him back, and you did a wonderful job last year in that play.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I know it's a fan favorite. Tell us a little bit about your background, Gary. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Southern California, and we moved to Northern California when I was 9 or so. I grew up in Placerville.
Mm-hmm. And did you study acting in college?
Yeah. I started in high school studying acting because I needed an easy elective because I was doing sports. And, and then went to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival shortly after that, and have been kind of, around here and there. And for the last 17 years or so, I've been living in Nevada County. 15 years of that was as an associate artist with the Foothill Theater Company.
Right. Right, and so now you've done this play before, I know, because I saw you in Sacramento do it.
That's right. 2 years ago, I did it for Capitol Stage in Sacramento, which was the theater that was on the Delta King River boat.
Right, was, and somebody else is in there now, is that right?
I don't know who's in there now, but I know Capitol Stage got a really nice space in Midtown, which they're just inaugurating now. They just had their first production there.
Yeah, wonderful company that we should all go down and see. So, Carolyn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I was born in Susanville, California, which nobody has ever heard of.
Center of excitement in the
Center
Western
of excitement, that is
universe.
right. That's right. But I ended up moving here to Nevada County about 17 years ago and worked with the Foothill Theater Company for 15 of those years. Mm-hmm. And I've been freelancing for the last couple of years, directing kind of all over regionally. Right. And just had the pleasure of directing Gary in the Santaland Diaries for the last few weeks.
Right. And so when you had problems with your actors, it was
Oh, yeah.
they just don't
Beat
like
'em up.
each other, and
That's
the pacing
right.
is poor. And,
That's right.
Okay.
That is the interesting thing about doing a one-man show is that, usually if you have a cast of many, that nobody really can get very tired during the course of a day. There are other people who sometimes are rehearsing, and oftentimes you're waiting for your turn. With a one-man show, it's always him, and the fatigue factor really does play a part of that.
so one night it's 1 hour and 20 minutes, and then the next night it's 3 hours. And
You never know.
never know.
what you're
Maybe you
gonna
get lucky, get one of those 3-hour
Yes,
shows.
exactly.
So Carolyn, tell us about why you decided or wanted or was selected to direct the show. What drew you to it?
I had directed it before, actually. Foothill had done it in 2008. So it was a script I was familiar with and love. I love David Sedaris. It's based on the writings of his and his experiences playing an elf at Macy's during the Christmas holiday season. So it's very tongue-in-cheek, very acerbic, very witty, as his
Right.
writings are. Gary's a natural fit for that. He's a very literary, witty, sarcastic human. So it's kind of a perfect fit.
Or typecast.
Yes, actually.
Play the type here.
Exactly. So Elvis called me up, came over to the house and said, we're thinking of doing this, and we think you guys would be a great team. Would you like to do it? And we thought it sounded like a lot of fun, so we said, of course, we'll do it.
Great. And now the show opened just last week?
Last Friday night. Yeah.
So Elvis, how did it go from your perspective?
Oh, the amazing thing about this show is, because I've produced a few shows around town, and I watch this show, and it's one of those things that I sit in the audience, and I can't leave. I get so used to doing shows that I watch that
Right. Heard it before.
you kind of get tired of it. And you go, okay. The show opened. I'm ready to go home now. Everything's fine. This show, I just sit there and I watch it and thinking, I'll leave in a couple minutes. And then a couple minutes later, I'm going, wait, I can't. And then before I know it,
The show's gone.
the show's over.
That inability to leave is exactly what I'm hoping to inspire in all the audiences. I would consider this a success if I could pull that off every night.
So Gary, now you've done the Wonderful Life show last year, and you've done, I know that you did Fully Committed at one
Right.
point, and now you're doing Santaland Diaries. Is one-man shows becoming your repertoire? Or
The trouble is, I'm so unpleasant, no one else wants to work with me. Kind of relegated to solo shows for the rest of my career. It's just kind of the way it's working out.
Right, and next year you'll be doing all the parts in Macbeth.
Yes.
And I look
It's
forward
very
to that.
sad, really.
Yes, really.
That's right.
And we'll be working on that show together.
Yes.
Ironically, I don't know why.
Yeah, you'll be able to leave during that.
Now you have done, all kidding aside, you have done Shakespeare.
I have.
And
A fair amount.
Yes. Tell me about that. What's your favorite genre or style of play, would you say?
Oh gosh, that's an interesting question. I don't have a quick or an easy answer for it, because I like a mix, and I like a really good script, and Santaland fits the bill. They certainly don't all, but I do love doing this script.
Right. Yeah. It is, for people who haven't seen it, it's just incredibly witty, and the play has several sections to it, does it not?
It does. Well, it was originally, I think, written as an essay, essentially. And David Sedaris performed it. He was performing it, where was it? In Chicago? Oh, I can't remember.
He was reading. He was at an open mic in Chicago, and he was reading from his diary, which he had kept religiously since 1977. And Ira Glass happened to be in there and hear him, and invited him to come on his radio show, which was called The Wild Room. And that led to his first NPR appearance, at which he read the Santaland Diaries.
It became a huge hit.
Yeah,
He
so
was
Santaland Diaries was
wildly
actually
popular.
his breakout hit.
And some of it's very, very funny, and witty and parody and sarcastic, and then some of it actually is very angst-ridden and kind of.
It does get
the end of
little-
the play, he starts kind of revealing more about himself, than maybe he wanted to admit before.
Yeah.
Well, it does get a little dark, and it deals not only with his experience, the funny parts, as you can imagine, about working as an elf, a grown man working as an elf. That's funny in and of itself. But it also really starts to deal with just how we are as humans at holiday times, and how we can get kind of ugly and not nice to the people around us, and pushy and greedy and mean, and how parents relate to their children during that time, which is just sometimes not good. So the show can get quite dark at times, but then he turns it right around and with a little funny moment.
He's a pretty keen observer. I would say that throughout in this piece, you'll find that his sympathies are always with the kids. But he tends to really hold the mirror up to the adults, and it's not a very flattering picture a lot of the time.
I think it's a really good way to put it. And we do have some pictures that we want to show that, are these from rehearsal, or do you know, Gary?
I'm not sure.
Sure.
Oh, we had a photo shoot.
What
There-
do we look? Do we have a clip?
Here's a poster, and
Oh,
there is
Joe.
oh, that's
this is a very funny bit.
that's one of well, during the course of the show, Crumpet plays he plays the people that he works with in Macy's Santaland, and he plays all the customers. In this moment, he happens to be playing Santa. See, all the Santas, they're known as Santa Doug or Santa Howard or whatever their name is. But this Santa takes himself so seriously that he calls himself Santa. And at this moment, he is asking Crumpet the elf to sing a Christmas carol for this child. Well, it's a koala bear in the picture, but since it's a one-man show, we
couldn't get
koala
kids,
bear
Right.
as a child. Anyway, this is a moment where Santa is saying, "Little elf, come and sing little Brenda's favorite Christmas carol for her," and then I, the little elf, have to sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which irritates me no end.
And for the record, we did not initially want to make this a one-man show. We tried to cast other people in the show, but nobody would work with Gary Wright.
Right.
So
Well,
we had to keep it a one-man
He has
show.
a big reputation. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
it was.
It's becoming a real problem.
Yes. Yeah. So now we have there's a picture where
Well, that's
drinking
actually
is
a
also
candid
comes
from
into the-
backstage.
Yesterday's rehearsal.
That was breakfast, I think.
Yeah. So what is your choice in gin?
That's
Whatever's in the coffee
So
pot.
tell us what's happening here.
well, that just happens to be the vodka that they used to spray the costumes, and I found it in the dressing room. And
Seriously now, in the play, as it were.
I don't think that's an actual moment from the play.
Okay.
Oh, this was a moment.
This was during a photo shoot.
I see. So you were
This
just
is a moment
playing
that
around,
actually,
as it were.
it got cut. We were doing a puppet show, but the puppet show started to get a little out of hand.
The puppets
Yeah.
basically.
They didn't want to work with
Well, they
Gary.
came to me and they said that
yeah.
I cannot work with this guy, so I had to cut the puppets. It was disappointing
Especially
because
the Santa. and
I paid them a
Devil.
lot of money.
That
too.
was particularly embarrassing, actually. That
Yeah,
the
it was-
puppets wouldn't even work with me.
Yeah, it was.
Now there's here you are making a point of something to make
I'm
out.
glad you see that.
Yes.
Yeah. And now Minnie, on
The
the other
show's not
hand,
entirely
she
pointless.
was not
Not entirely.
real thrilled with working with Gary either. But she's
She's a trooper,
But
though. She's
compared
an old
to
pro.
Mickey Mouse,
Well, Mickey was out of the picture from the
Yeah, he
beginning.
wouldn't even come in.
Yeah, he didn't. I tried to sign him up, but he wouldn't show up.
so if I was a person who didn't care for Christmas much, and well, look at that! Oh my goodness,
Oh, because he's spelling out Santa. That's an N.
that is a man.
Right. That's an N with that's a big serif on that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was doing that. I'll have to straighten that out.
Right. And your hat, I think, is supposed to be an Inya, but you didn't. So that is the Santaland Diaries. It started last week and runs through December 24th, and you can pick tickets up at Briar Patch and the usual places.
Harmony Books.
Harmony Books.
Harmony Books.
In the bookseller.
And the bookseller.
Right. So I'm a person in Nevada City of some age of like 40s, and I don't really like Christmas. Why would I want to go watch the show?
Because you don't really like Christmas.
So, do you think David Sedaris doesn't like Christmas?
No, I think he probably does. It lacks saccharin. It is just not typically at the holiday time. The typical show is usually often
Sweetsy.
quite sweetsy and sugary, and the show isn't.
Right.
You know, I think that's a really good point, because I think that a lot of people and friends that I have that often will not come see our Christmas shows because they're not into the, as you say, saccharin. They're not into the sweet.
Yeah, this is, in a way, kind of
they're-
the anti-Christmas show. Although, as I said, when you're done with it, it really has this kind of aftertaste, which isn't all that bitter. It actually is very sweet by
Right.
the end of the show. I mean, he learns a lot about himself throughout the show.
He learns a lot about himself, and it actually has a beautiful, heartwarming moment at the end,
Right.
that where he really is touched by the true spirit of love and giving and all those things that we like to emulate at the holiday time. So there is a very heartwarming message to it. You just get to laugh a lot before you get there.
And you appreciate it all the more, I think, because you have to go through his journey on the way there, which is, it runs a real emotional gamut from snarky to annoyed. But he calls it like he sees it. Carolyn's very right. It's not saccharine at all. He's an observer of the human condition in Macy's during the holidays, and that's not a heartwarming condition at all.
Did this actually happen to Sedaris, do you think?
It actually did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was basing it on a reality. Of course, people who don't know David Sedaris, I mean, Amy, his sister, is one of my heroines. She's just fantastically funny.
Yeah,
So funny.
hilarious.
Lady, and so as a family, there's quite a bit of wit in. And I would say that characterizes the show most as wit.
Absolutely, and the thing that I like about David Sedaris, when I did the play 2 years ago, I liked him before, but I was not a huge fan. But I became a big fan a couple years ago because I made a point of reading a bunch of his books, and the one thing that I really like about him is his spirit of adventure, his willingness to put himself into situations that range from ridiculous to downright dangerous, just to see what'll happen. And then he tells stories about them, and that's what he's made a career out of doing that, and it's wonderful reading.
Has he ever done this play, to your knowledge?
He has performed it, not as a play.
Yeah.
An author-director by the name of Joe Mantello actually took his essays and adapted it into the play that you will see Gary do. He took things out of order, moved things around, arranged it in a way so that it has a more linear kind of story.
Including the ending, which is the really strong thing which makes it not an anti-Christmas play, because in the essays, that piece that's at the end of the play is somewhere in the middle. So the essays don't quite deliver the same Christmas is okay message that the play does.
Right. As a one-man show, do you find yourself performing or liking? I mean, every actor, I think, likes particular parts of the show better than others, and then along about the second week, you start thinking, no, I like this part better, and having more fun. Does that happen to you in a one-man show?
That absolutely happens, yeah. And another thing that happens in one-man show, there are several things that happen with me almost every time I do a comedy, which I do a lot of. One of the first things that happens is in rehearsal, where I realize, I've got to stop trying to make it funny. I've got to just make it true, and then the humor will come from there. Well, luckily, I'd already worked through that in the first production of this, so I kind of had a head start on this production. And the really cool thing in a one-man show is when you realize you can take your time and breathe.
Right.
Because the tendency is, I think, to rush, especially if the audience is quiet. And when you give it some time to breathe, then it starts to really come alive, and you start to really inhabit it. And another thing that happens with a one-man show is you get more and more relaxed. Actually, with any show, you do.
Right.
As the run goes along, each weekend I tend to turn a corner and get a little more relaxed, which lets me inhabit the role a little more honestly, I think.
And then, do you think you learn things through the show and adapt what you do to add those little bits in that work better?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a great deal of mugging that goes on in the show too. I mean, you use your eyes a lot, roll the eyes. And
Well, my whole philosophy of acting is say a line, make a face.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to school for that.
You just thought that up on your own.
Well, one of the things that's, of course,
Write a book.
hilarious about the play is that the costume is immediately ridiculous. It's just.
Oh, that wasn't a costume.
But
that was the only thing I had cleaned.
No, but it is. And he does that costume change on stage.
Yes.
So you actually get to see a normal guy in jeans and
Sort
a
of normal.
sweater, sort of
Sort of.
normal, have to humiliate himself
Exactly.
by donning this ridiculous
Right.
work uniform.
Which I
quite
think is,
fun.
Alvis told me, is the real reason he did this play.
Yes, because I needed to be
subjected
humiliated.
To some humiliation.
Actually,
Exactly.
it's funny because my mom and I, who produce a company together, earlier this year we spoke to each other and we said, what is the best way we could possibly humiliate Gary Wright in the best way? And
Right.
we said, put him in tights. And so that's what we did.
I wasn't bad enough that you had him last year talking to 37 characters.
Well, no, that wasn't
Old
humiliating.
movie,
Right,
that-
you
pushed him over the edge on
They
this
really
one.
took me down a peg or two this
Yes.
year. Yeah, with the whole
So
tight
what
thing.
would be coming next?
We're working on it, and I'll get back to you on that, okay?
Probably.
And Carolyn might help me with it, too.
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
we'll come up with
Come
something.
up with something good. Yeah.
So,
He's speechless.
yes,
doesn't
we've
happen
left
very
Gary
often.
speechless. This doesn't happen a lot. So, so when people interview you about the show, you can't complain about your fellow actors, can you?
Oh, I can and do, Paul. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, would you want to work with these guys?
Yeah, look at this guy.
Yeah.
If he
It's
had done
actually-
his job in the first part of the play, I wouldn't be standing here in just total silence with Which, by the way, when you point out playing the audience, I did a play called Primetime, which was a surrealistic comedy, and there was all this. You had to know TV to understand who the characters were, and they kept putting more costumes on as they were playing different characters, and so one night somebody said, well, the place is going to be full tonight. So I said, okay, well, I'll videotape this performance because the place is full and, the ambiance can be great. And then start out the play and there's silence in the audience. It's like, these guys are dying on stage. It turned out that it was a fundamentalist Christian church had bought the show out because they had heard it was an anti-TV show. And so, the tape is rolling and these, triple entendres are coming out and there's nobody getting it.
Well, it's a good point. You never know who's in your audience.
You don't.
And particularly in a show like this, which is very dependent on having an actor who really listens to what he's getting back.
Right.
And you regulate, I'm sure, as you go. It's you kind of you adjust. You know what's going to get laughs. You know what probably isn't.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
the audience has a big effect on the character.
They really
of the
do.
Performance,
Yeah.
any given performance.
Right. And I think that, your point is well taken, that, the tendency is to speed up. Because you want to get to the next line, that maybe they'll get that one, if they don't.
I found myself doing that Saturday night, actually.
Yeah.
And then
You have to
and-
relax.
Yeah, and they were a very quiet house Saturday night, so that was rough. That was not a very fun one
Yeah.
for me.
Then-
And then the next day, Sunday, was fantastic.
And then
Yeah.
the really strange thing was Saturday night, Gary came off stage at the end of the show, and he looked at me and he says, I can't work with that guy ever again.
They
I'm
sunk
like,
us.
Gary, it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was rushing everything.
Yeah.
None of the jokes landed.
Yeah,
It was awful.
I'm like, sorry, Gary, I can't recast him now.
Now, how notwithstanding this show, how do you work in a small environment like Nevada City or Nevada County, where you don't have critics and you don't have a lot of reviews? No offense to the union.
I miss it. I think it's a really important. When we first moved here 17 years ago, there was a theater critic at the union.
Right.
That's right, Paul Farrar. He was great.
And I think it's a really important part of what we do. And newspapers all over the country are losing their theater critics. It's one of the things that's getting cut as newspapers' budgets are shrinking.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate, not only because it informs the public of things they should go see or look at or avoid. But it also, I think, is really important for artists. It holds up a mirror for you.
Right.
And I think that's a really important thing to
Right.
do. So I really wish there were more theater critics. I think criticism is a very important part of the landscape of art.
Right. Well, you guys will see on the 14th of December, we're going to launch a new project here in the Digital Media Center called Arts Matters, which is going to be a social media thing where we can interact more. And I hope to build a forum so that at least the artistic community has a place and a way of talking to each other, because there's so many great artists up here. It's ridiculous, but you don't get a sense of that, in terms of being able to sit down and really talk about this play or that play, or the dramaturg of, there is no dramaturgy here, in a sense. We depend upon producers to do it, but, there's no feedback. And
Yes.
I think that really is too bad,
That sounds like a great program.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully we get you guys to be involved in that, and
That would be great.
That'd be great.
so
And for the record, I should say that we do have a reviewer.
Yes.
Indy Greenberg did
Yes.
come see our show, and
Yes.
we're looking forward to her review in the union.
Absolutely. Hindi does
Right.
a great job. Yeah, and
So,
I'm glad that she's
once
here.
again we're going to the show is Santaland Diaries, and it will be at the off-center stage, and it's running through December 24th. Well, thank you for being on our show today. I hope to have you guys back again.
We'd love
year.
it.
Not
Thanks for
so
having
sure
us.
about all of this, but But he has
smell
acquitted
bad?
himself
Is that it?
very well. And so for the folks at home, what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to show you how TV works backstage, and I'll be making pithy comments as our guests who are on the stage right now will be leaving us. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Paul.
Look forward
It's
to
great
seeing
fun.
the shows.
Great.
And so that was our show about Santaland Diaries. Coming up is another show that we were talking about that the LeGacy Theater is producing called A Christmas Story. And as soon as Elvis gets resituated and we have Morgan come up, Morgan Margulies come up and join us, who is playing Ralphie in The Christmas Story. The Christmas Story is a really interesting work of art that was done by Gene Shepard. Now, some people only know Gene Shepard through this movie or a few other pieces, but Gene Shepard actually was a comic raconteur in New York in the middle 50s, and was once pulled off. He lost the show, I think, in 1956 when he was on the radio at WOR because he refused to be commercial. And Gene Shepard has the ability to capture small-town America in a way that's totally unique. And he did this play called A Christmas Story, which centers around one Ralphie Parker. And Ralphie has his heart set on, getting the Christmas present that he's always wanted, the Red Ryder.
Legendary official Red Ryder 200-shot carbine action range model air rifle with a compass and the same shell sign. Go right into the slot.
Right. And you're going to shoot your eye out with that thing, right?
Don't tell him that, please. He's heard that enough.
So do you like Mo better than Morgan, or
I don't mow. Morgan.
Mo's okay?
I don't
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on board. So tell us a little bit about your background in theater. Is this your first play?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've done like elementary school plays, but this is my first
That counts.
major production.
Sure.
And you've worked with little players before, right?
Nope.
No?
That was Finn and Orion.
Oh, that's the only reason why I hired you.
Yeah. So now,
You
I
lied
don't know,
on your
Elvis.
resume.
You brought us Gary, right? One-man wrecking crew, and now you're telling me that never mind.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to leave so I can replace him.
You can replace him. Yes, actually, Morgan was a little bit concerned that we're taping the show and he might miss his call tonight.
He is going to be late for his call tonight.
So, okay, well, that's great. So, Elvis, tell me a little bit about Christmas Story, because in a way, it really is completely revolves around Ralphie, doesn't it?
Well, it's a really good show, and I think everybody knows the story from the movie. I grew up with it. I think it's a wonderful show. It's a wonderful movie, and we struggled with LeGacy Productions to decide on what show we were going to do for Christmas this year. And we went back and forth with different things. And you'd be surprised, Paul, or maybe you wouldn't, but there are not a lot of Christmas shows out there.
Right.
And we've taken on the task of doing not one but two.
Right.
And there's only a few out there. And we came across this one, which we obviously knew about for many, many years, and realized that it was actually a stage play. And the minute we realized that, we realized we had to put it on stage.
Right.
Which is not easy. It's not easy to take something that was originally a film to put it on stage.
Yeah.
And
I think it grew out of Gene Shepard's amazing ability to improvise on his radio show. He didn't ever write much down, and so I think actually I won't say what's happening off stage. Thank you, Janice, for the rearrangement of the wardrobe malfunctions. But in this particular case, in a way, this show is an inverse of Santaland Diaries in that it looks on the surface like a very sweet show about a young boy, but then there's all kinds of dark parts of it where the bully, what's the name of the bully?
Scott Farkas.
Yes, who's constant nemesis for Ralphie.
But then he gets beat up.
Shows up in a really kind of brutal scene where, when they have that fight. So it's really a lot heavier play than people might think at first glance.
Well, I'm not sure if I would call it a heavy play.
Right.
It's definitely, again, if you compare it to...
Well, it has messages in it that are...
It has messages, but I think that it's something that we'll all appreciate.
Right.
It's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's not your fluffy, light show. I mean, there's definitely some stuff that we can all appreciate.
Right.
But
now, apparently it takes place, I read, in 1939 in Cleveland is the setting for it. Why do you think it's in Cleveland, notwithstanding I think that Gene Shepard was from Chicago, I still remember. But why do you think, is Cleveland the perfect place for the show, do you think?
I really couldn't answer that question. I don't know.
In a way, what I'm getting at is it's kind of a mid-heartland show, isn't it? A middle American.
It's definitely about middle America. It's and I think that's why we all appreciate it on its base. I mean, that's why I appreciated it. I grew up on this film as a kid. Mm-hmm. This was something that I watched every year. Right. And I think that it sort of personifies the great American experience.
Right.
And whether or not you're from California or from New York or anywhere in between,
right. Seeing America.
We kind of get that. And I mean, obviously, it takes place in 1940. I'm a little bit younger than that, so I wasn't around in 1940. Neither were you.
Right.
But I think it still kind of tells us a little bit of the story that we... And Ralphie's whole thing about the Red Ryder BB gun, we all know what that feels like. Yeah. We all know... When I was a kid, it was something else. When you were a kid, it was something else. When you were a kid, it was something else. Mm-hmm. But there was that one present that we wanted.
Right.
And it really tells the story of a little boy that just really wants something.
Right.
And it tells a greater, broader story about the parents and the father and the mother and what they're going through and everything. You know, it's
entirely true. I mean, it's a complete play in every respect, I think. So have you seen, Mo, did you see the picture that we're talking about, the movie first? Do you remember when you first saw that?
When I first saw the movie was in 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah, did you think, gee, that'd be neat to play that actor?
No.
No? So how did you get involved in this production?
Well, I
can answer that question. Only because I remember his dad, Matt, called me many years ago and said, when can you get my son into a show? And I said, well, tell him to come audition. And when he came out and auditioned, we knew right away.
Right, perfect.
They said, it was like that. So I didn't mean to interrupt you because you may want to tell about how you got involved. But
Well, how did you feel? Were you nervous about doing a audition?
I wasn't really thinking that I would make it at all. So I wasn't as nervous. But once I got up there and actually started auditioning, I got butterflies. But it was after it, I felt pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So you said you acted in elementary school plays, and I think most of us who are in the theater started in elementary school.
Yeah.
So what have you learned in doing this? I mean, how would you characterize your learning experience here before you started out a couple weeks ago, having to memorize lines? What was that like?
That was hard. I was really stressing out about it, and I tried to devote all my free time, not doing homework, doing that, and it was hard, but I got it down. So.
Does your father, Matt, who's in the audience, does he know that you slacked off on the homework there? We don't want to get Mo in trouble with his teachers.
You don't want to get me in trouble.
That's the last child play ever done by LeGacy Productions. So, tell me about your mother and father in the play. Who's your mom like? What's she like?
Has the perfect voice. She's a radio person. And then the father's really good. And they both seem like they would be a mother
Good parents?
and father.
Yeah. So now when you first, as I remember, the scene where Ralphie first spills the beans about the Red Ryder BB gun, the mom asks...
when you spilled the other beans.
Yeah. the mom asks, what would you like for Christmas? And before you know it, you blurt it out. Is that what happens?
Yep.
And so how do you act that piece? I mean, do you have to... Because the audience is wondering, what's he going to say, and you know that you don't want to say that. But by the way, we do have some photographs. Let's go to the photographs and...
I love that picture.
You're out, kid.
So you really do have a BB gun, a Red Ryder BB gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not mine. But
No, right. That's kind of cool, huh?
yeah.
But if you're really good, we might get you one for Christmas.
But he'll shoot his eye out, which will the famous line that
He's got
in this
two
play.
of them, though,
So who's in the cast here with you?
So the girl on the
With the cap on?
with the girl in the red is Maddie, and she's Helen. And the girls that are the same height, that are
Right.
the taller people, are Helen, and the girl in the blue is Claudia. The shorter girls are Esther Jane, the two girls that that are obsessed with me in the play.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Why are they obsessed with you?
Because
He's so good looking.
yeah,
It's smooth. Now,
not really smooth, but
so yeah, and Ralphie's not quite ready for this, I don't think, right? I mean,
yeah. But in all my fantasy fantasies
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, you've got. When else in your life are you going to have, 4 girls obsessed with you? So here's your family. Tell us who's in this.
Well, that's me. That's touching the present. And then that's my father, who I think he's from like Arizona. The present.
Bill Hubbard.
Yes, and originally done by Darren
McGavin.
McGavin. Now, what's I see father's very favorite thing in the whole world is what?
Turkey.
No, next to turkey. What's his possession that he likes?
Simon
Right behind him.
Right behind him.
Right behind him.
Oh, his leg lamp.
His leg lamp. Tell us about the leg lamp because that's one of the icons in this play.
It's his favorite present, or not present. He wins an award, $50,000 giant jackpot puzzle, gets the lamp, and the mother, of course, doesn't like it at all.
Right.
She ends up breaking it. So
Do you think she did it on purpose?
she does.
Yeah.
And he thinks that the mother's thinks it's as cool as he does, but not really. And I really love that.
Right.
So
And it's a coming of age story, as they say.
yeah.
So here's the rest of the cast. So tell us who's in this. We talked about the girls. Who's in the back row here?
The shorter boy is Schwartz, Ty. And the other kid, that's my friend, Flick. Then the guy that is touching me and I'm freaked out is the bully Scott Farkas.
Yeah, Scott Farkas, who's everybody's who grew up had some bully that they didn't like and feared, and found out actually what a bully was all about in the end, right? I mean, he's not as tough as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
So, so what is this play about? I mean, how's it? What do you think? The story's being told, and who does the Gene Shepard voiceover? Is that done as a adult or?
No, it's actually
It's incorporated.
actor's name is Bill Treziak. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful actor, very talented actor.
And does he do this from off stage or?
No, he does it from a podium on
He does it
stage.
from a podium
And
on
he,
stage,
He,
yeah.
he tells the story to the audience.
Right.
and It's really beautifully done, and he's a wonderful actor, and he's got huge, tons of experience. And he's
Now, do you think, Mo, that when you hear the adult Ralphie talk about the young Ralphie, do you think he learns stuff through the play?
Maybe, probably.
Yeah, because he's a little different now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's more mature and he sees the wisdom in some of the stuff that happened to him.
Yeah.
And Ralphie is very, I think the word I would use is earnest. I mean, Ralphie is a good kid. He wants to do good stuff. He's not.
He tells the truth, but he sometimes he takes a small thing and expands it a lot.
Right.
Like instead of saying, Schwartz said he saw a pack of wild bears behind Pulaski. No, he says Schwartz saw a pack of wild bears behind Pulaski's candy store. He really just saw gummy bears.
Right.
So.
He tends to exaggerate. He lives in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Why do you think, or when you're preparing for the role of Ralphie, what in your mind was the red rifle? I mean, the BB gun. And did you ever have something like that in Christmas in your real life?
iPod Touch, and then when I see it, I always try to think of my favorite baseball players, Matt Kemp and Clayton Kershaw.
So you're a Dodger fan,
This
I
is an
guess.
issue
Dodgers.
that we actually, he and I've gotten into this before.
Yeah.
I actually showed up at a rehearsal. He was wearing a Dodger shirt.
Uh-oh.
What did I say to you?
You said,
I think I said, "Get off my stage."
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a Giants fan.
Well, probably
So-
Ralphie was a Cleveland Indian fan, I'm guessing.
Maybe he does have a baseball up in his room.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yes, but he's lucky that I'm still letting him in the show.
Right.
And then what was funny was then what did you say to me then?
Who won the?
He looked at me and said, "Who won the Cy Young Award? The Cy Young
most
Award?"
valuable
Who
player.
almost got the triple? Who got the triple crown?
Right.
Pitching
And then I
triple
looked at him and I said, "Who won the World Series last year?" And
Last
he said,
year.
"Last year."
Yeah. see?
That was last year.
Yeah. What'd you do for us lately?
Well, the good thing is that we can still sit next to each other.
Yeah, that's
You know,
that's
I mean, I
good.
haven't kicked him out of the show yet. I'm looking for a replacement, but haven't found one yet.
Yeah.
But if I find a better actor than him, or even a mediocre actor, I'll replace him.
So Mo, do you have a coach?
For baseball?
No, for acting.
Oh,
You're looking at
No.
him, right?
So who gives you criticism? I mean, who tells you?
my director
Yeah.
and my dad.
And-
My dad used to be an actor, so
And what do they tell you? I mean, they.
like just don't talk slower. Don't make footsteps. And just not slur my words.
Yeah. So being on stage, are you aware that you're talking differently than you would in real life?
Yes,
Yeah.
like
do you-
saying swell
and
instead of awesome.
right? That's right. Swell was the awesome of that age. So when you're in the theater, now that's not such a big theater you're in. The space isn't too large. You don't have to worry too much about projection, or
Well, in normal life, I'm always told to whisper because my whisper voice is a normal talking voice.
yeah,
Because my voice is really, really loud.
yeah. So you don't have any problem projecting. Yeah,
He's actually one of the few actors in the show that we don't have to tell to keep their volume up. You know.
So now when so the line that everybody remembers is you'll shoot your eye out with that. So your mom is the first one to say that, right?
Yes.
And then Ralphie feels what when she says that?
Like, really bad because, or bad's not a good word. Bad
Well, yes,
because,
he's sad because-
sad because he was trying to keep it down low, and then
Right.
when he accidentally said it, he got punished. Well, not punished, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he was afraid, that his mom might react the way she did. So he was trying to figure a way to do this, and also he blurts it out,
Yeah.
and then it sits out there, and then she says,
You'll shoot your eye out.
"You'll shoot your eye out." Then what happens?
I tried
Yep.
to rebuild and be like, I was kidding. I had like Lincoln Logs or Tinker Toys, something educational. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be swell.
And so then after that, now in the movie, everybody starts doing "You'll shoot your eye out." I mean, is that in the play as well? Santa
Well, yeah.
Claus tells him.
Santa Claus tells me. Miss Shields tells me.
Right,
My, Esther Jane tells me. Flick tells me.
right.
And that's all.
And so then, without giving the whole plot away, what happens to Ralphie? Does he get his red?
Well, wait a second. That is giving the whole plot away.
Yeah.
Okay.
How could you not
Well,
give the whole plot away
we
with
will
that?
leave that to the audience then. Will Ralphie get his BB gun or will he not?
Come see the show.
Yeah, you'll have to come see the show to see that. What is the cause of the fight that you have with the bully?
Well, I've always hated him, and so he just picks on every kid he sees. And he throws a snowball in my face. I fall down, I get up. And then that same day, like Miss Shields gave me back my theme, which I got a C+, and it was about that. And I was also mad about Santa Claus. So after that, I gave up and got up, tackled him, and started saying words that I learned from my dad while beating him up.
Right. And how does that feel when you're on the stage and you're doing that? I mean, how's Ralphie feel about that?
Really relieved that he's getting all that out.
Yeah, I think it is. He doesn't revel in it, but he is relieved that he doesn't have to worry about this this bully anymore.
Yeah.
And so, how's Ralphie end the play with regard to the girls? I mean, is he growing up? Is he beginning to understand that?
Well, actually, the last scene that he has with Esther Jane, he's gives her a Christmas card and like just looks at it and she tries to talk to him, and he doesn't respond. So he's still like a little bit iffy.
Yeah, a little bit iffy, but I think he's getting there to the
because
to
he
the
actually
stage.
talked to her.
Right,
And
right.
with more than
Now,
2 words.
When Gene Shepard used to have his radio show, there was the girl of his dreams was named Wanda Hickey. And he would tell stories about Wanda Hickey, and I can't believe she's talking to me. And I think there's a little bit of that in this play, is there not?
You do your research, don't you?
No, I remember I was a big Gene Shepard fan and grew up in New York. And,
Nice.
Yeah, and he did some of the most outrageous things. He created a bestseller from the New York Times bestseller list as a hoax. He created a thing called I, Libertine. And it was a book, and he asked all his fans to go out and ask for the book in the bookstore. And they created this monster demand for a book that had never been written by a fictional
Really?
author.
That's fascinating.
And so he had to. So the book publisher, Ballantine, actually went out and found an author to write the book, and it became a New York bookseller, so, proving the point that anything can get on the bestseller list. You know?
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where Gene Shepard came from. He was always a kind of a offbeat critic of, and in fact was a partner of Ernie Kovac. Do you remember Ernie Kovac at all? Yeah, he partnered with Ernie Kovac on The Tonight Show before Jack Parr took over. He actually, yeah. So he characterized. He's kind of an intellectual outsider, and I think that's what you see in this. I mean, Ralphie's not totally comfortable with his family or where he is. I mean, I think it's very much Gene Shepard.
He's very distant from his family.
Yeah,
But he has more of a connection with his mom than his dad.
right.
And he's not.
Why do you think that is?
Because his mom's a lot more, when there's a punishment, it's usually his dad.
Yeah.
Except for,
But his dad sort of comes in and out, and his mom's always there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he can talk to his mom a lot
Yeah.
easier than his dad,
And-
who is a little strange. I mean, we have to admit that.
Well, they both are, right?
Yeah,
Or actually, everybody in the show is,
right.
including Ralphie.
Yeah. So, do you think if Ralphie was in your school, you'd be a friend of Ralphie's?
I don't know, because Ralphie is 2 or 3 years younger than me.
That's a diplomatic way of.
So would you be the bully? Would you be picking on him?
No,
No.
I'm just not really.
Have you learned anything personally out of doing the show? I mean, have you changed your attitude about anything?
Not really.
No. That's pretty much what you thought. Yeah.
Wrong answer. Start over.
No, there's no wrong answer. So, Mo, where's this going to take you? What's next? I mean, would you like to go do more acting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really fun.
Yeah.
Once you get to the shows, it's really fun. But during the beginning is,
Well, that's hard work, isn't it?
yeah.
And you have to put in a lot of time and effort, and you have to, the rehearsals. You have to share the stage with all your actors, and it's an ensemble, it's a team, just like a baseball team, really.
Yeah.
So, so what do you think? What character would you like to play in on a stage play or a movie?
I don't know, like, which movie?
Which movie? Which movie would you like to be
That's
in?
what he's asking.
Oh, which movie?
What role?
Maybe, I just had one in my mind. I don't know. Let me think.
Well, that's a good answer, because then maybe you can forge your own character. I mean, I think you're probably at the age where you'll start. I mean, everybody, I think, emulates or takes from and borrows from actors, but at some point you've got to be your own man.
Yeah, I came up with a role.
Okay.
Maybe Jake in 2.5 Men.
2.5 Men, Jake. There you go. That would be.
Are you serious?
I like comedies.
Really? Okay.
I like Jake. Yeah.
I was going to say, because I could, if you come up with a more traditional character, I could probably
Right.
produce the show and make you in it, but
Ah,
we're not
the
going to
show is boring.
We're not going to do 2.5 men on stage.
So we only have a couple of minutes left. So let's talk a little bit about, again, the show is a Christmas story, and it's, when is it showing?
Well, both shows, A Christmas Story and Santaland Diaries, run till Christmas Eve.
Right. And are they rotating in?
No, they're
About
two
the same
different
time?
theater companies.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, the same theater company, two different theaters.
Right.
Christmas Story runs at the Nevada Theater now through Christmas Eve, Thursdays through Sundays, and Santaland Diaries at the Off-Center stage behind the Center for the Arts runs now through Christmas Eve.
And so people can get tickets at Briar Patch, at Harmony Books.
The
Or they
bookseller,
can call you directly.
the bookseller,
The bookseller,
as well,
right. Yeah.
and online at legacypresents.com,
Right.
or by calling 268-5419.
Okay. Got about a minute left. Real quick, is there anything, what's next for Legacy?
That's a really good question. What do you want to do?
I don't know.
I was hoping that he'd come up with something for us. But no, we
maybe.
don't. We definitely have a lot of things in the work, but we don't know exactly what
Okay.
our next shows are going to be. But
Well, that's a good answer.
You can
Well-
always check out our website and find out for sure what we're going to do next. But
Well, we'll keep posted. So folks at home, keep support your local theaters. They're great. And we're just an unusual place. It's about all we have time for. This was Paul Minicucci signing off. Go see Santaland Diary and Christmas Story, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.